So welcome, Julissa and Dawson, Catherine and Tina, and Heather and Mike and Hyburn and Cheryl. Thanks for coming. This is the week 6 webinar, which is very different than all the rest of them. And welcome, Ashley. Why is this a very different webinar than we've had yet?
Are you talking to me?
Everybody.
Because we have our exam this week.
Yeah, and there's no assignment due, okay, other than the secret word quiz, which that's nothing because you're here and you'll get that pretty soon. So this is not a webinar where I'm going to have a list of things to do and talk about in terms of mathematical materials and all that. This really is all about giving you an idea of what to expect for the exam. So that's all this is. My guess is it'll be a lot shorter than a regular webinar. So, but it might not be because you might have lots of questions. And I'm happy to answer as many questions as you have to talk about it. What my plan today is to go over the details of the exam so that nobody's surprised about the exam when they take it. And you have some good strategies on studying for the exam. So that's kind of that's the plan today. Again, it's very different than a regular webinar where I go through some math ideas and then examples of math that relate to those ideas and et cetera, et cetera. This is just talking about the exam. You have no new math assignments today other than that exam. So first thing, are there any questions at all? Are there any questions at all about anything before I talk about the exam? Okay, if there's no questions, I think I'm going to mute people as we go. But please, if you do have a question, unmute yourself so that you can ask it. But it's always good if there's less distractions. Yeah, if you have a question, please ask.
Yeah, so it was, I'm trying to remember exactly on the homework. It was just one or maybe 2 questions. They were pretty much the same. Everything else was seemingly going well, and it was just this area. I was like, oh no, I don't know exactly.
So when you say they were the same, do you mean they were the same problem?
They were the same problem, but they were the same style.
They're the same style, okay. So it wasn't like, why did I get 2 of the same problem? It's more, how do you do this? So the first thing I strongly recommend is as soon as you have a problem that you have no idea, how to get that answer, what to do, the best thing to do is right away is post on the Q&A forum. Just copy and paste the problem, and then I'll be able to look at it and I'll be able to help you. Otherwise, you got to wait for the webinar, which I'm happy to help you now. Okay. Is it specific or more general?
Yeah, I'm kind of curious why, because I did figure it out, but I was like, oh, I don't know. I can't remember exactly what the rule is. I'll like type it in actually, so you can see it if it's better.
Mm-hmm. You can type it in. The other thing is you can share your desktop if you have it, if you're looking at it. I
don't know if I'm not skilled.
Okay. Yeah, there's a shared desktop, but then everyone sees your desktop. So don't share if there's private stuff on your desktop. Just let you know. I have nothing that I, care about anyone seeing on my desktop.
Okay.
Okay. So the question is 0.195 caret 2 times 0.714 caret 3. And probably round to some number of decimals, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So order of operations says you do the powers first. Okay. And you do need a calculator for this. There's no way you would ever, I don't know you well enough, but no one I know would ever want to do this by hand. And you probably don't want to do by hand either, right?
Right, yeah. I definitely use the calculator, but I think I did it out of order at first, and I did it right the second time. But I was
right. So the first thing you should do is 0.195 squared, because that's the power, and you do the first power first. Doesn't matter which power you do first, but you got to do the powers. So you might as well do the left one first. And I can't do this in my head. I mean, it's around 0.039 or so, something like that. Um, but that's an estimate. So what do you get for the?
Yeah. So actually, that's what I was wondering. I got this on my calculator.
Yeah, just for the first part. Do one step at a time. Okay, good. Again, I said 0.039 in my head, but it's 0.038, so pretty close. Okay, then you do 0.714 cubed in your calculator.
Oh.
And that's going to be 0.036-ish, something like that.
Yeah, that's what I got. Yeah.
Okay, what'd you get?
Do
Ish.
you
I mean, I can't do the whole thing in my head.
like I can put the longer version. It's more like if I round it, that's what it is.
Okay, so then you multiply those two numbers together. So you do the exponents first, right? Because in PEMDAS, there's no parentheses, so the P isn't there, but the E is exponent. So we just did the exponents, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then what you do is you do the multiplication. That's all that's left. So then you multiply the 0.038025 times 0.3640, and what do you get? 0.01-ish, 0.01.
Yeah, it's 0.01, and then there's a bunch of other numbers, of course, too.
And if you're going to be putting it in MyOpenMath, and this is important, don't round until the end, and then round to the number decimals they tell you. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah, totally.
And that
That's
is important.
better, yeah.
Yeah, you never want to round until the very, very end. So does that make total sense now?
Yeah, that explains why I didn't get it right the first time.
Were you doing a different order of operations?
So I did, I think that's what it was, is I rounded it before I multiplied it.
Early rounding, yeah. Early rounding is a mistake.
Yeah. And then I was like, well, I'm so close, but why is it not exact? So.
Right. If you round early, then everything is just off after that. So you always want to round at the very, very, very end.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions before we start talking about the test? Okay, if there's no questions, and again, please ask questions as it goes if you come up with questions, especially now that I'm going to start talking about the test. So I want to share my desktop so that you can see it, and we can talk about the test. All right, so the first thing is this is a syllabus. We've seen this before, and I want to mention, because this is important, the midterm exam is 30% of your grade. So notice that the homework is 20%. So the midterm exam itself is worth more than all of the homework assignments combined. So very important that you really pay attention to this midterm exam. Okay, don't take it lightly. I like that in education, what we say is that homework is a formative assessment. And basically what that means, it's for you. Okay, it tells you whether you're getting it or not. Whereas the midterm exam is what's called a summative assessment. And what that means is it's for me. So it tells me whether you're getting it or not, so I know what grade to give you. Does that make sense? So that's something to note. And it's not just this class. I mean, I try to model this somewhat after the stats class. And the stats class is very similar, is that the midterm exam and the final exam together is a big percentage of the grade. Okay, with the stats class, there's also a project that's a big percent, and so the midterm and final are a little more in this class actually, because there's no projects. And then the homework and discussion are a much smaller percent, a total, each one is a tiny, tiny bit. So that's the first note, is take it very seriously. And it is, like I said, a big part of your grade. I will let you know a couple things in terms of dates. So the midterm exam can be taken anytime between tonight and Sunday night. Okay, but it's very different than the homeworks in terms of the date and time. So this is a timed exam. You will have 2 hours to do the midterm exam, period, from the beginning to the end, unless you have a disability and the Disability Resource Center has let me know. And then whatever they tell me is what you get. But otherwise, you have 2 hours to the exam. From 2 hours after you start, it times out, and that's it. And the exam's over for you. So you have to not just take it seriously, but you also have to get ready to take it promptly and not slowly, or you won't finish it. Any questions on the style of the exam in terms of time, at least? Okay, I will let you know that the big difference between this exam and what the statistics students took last week in my stats class is that this exam does not have some formal proctoring system. And the reason for that is there's no reason, hopefully you realize there's no reason to cheat in this class. So you should do it right instead of cheat, because cheating isn't going to get you anywhere, except maybe you might get a good grade in this class, but then you'll fail next quarter. So that's not going to help you. And this is all about getting ready for next quarter. So hopefully you won't cheat, and you'll just take the exam for 2 hours. So what you should be doing is you shouldn't be using anything other than a calculator. That could be a computer calculator to do this exam. Okay, so you shouldn't be talking to other people. You shouldn't be having distractions. You shouldn't be looking at other web pages. Even though there's no proctoring system to make sure of that, I will let you know there is one in the stats class. Okay, whether it's online or not online, there's going to be a proctoring system. So you should practice. Okay, but I try to make it a little less stressful. So you're on your honor for the proctoring on this one. So that's another thing, is that my recommendation is that you take away your distractions. So if you're living with other people, then tell them that for those 2 hours, don't talk to me. Got it? So that's my strong suggestion, so you don't get distracted and then you run out of time because they're talking to you. Okay? And I understand if you have a small child, you do your best, but maybe if they're real small, you can let them take a nap for those, do it during their nap time if they're a baby or something. So that's my recommendation for when to take the test if you have a child, especially a little child. If you have a bigger child, I don't know, have them have them play, do something by themselves. And if you have no children, any adult in the house, just say, don't bother me. Got it? So that's my strong recommendation on getting this exam kind of ready in terms of ready to take it. Any questions so far? Okay, so let me talk about the exam. And this is weird because I've never actually given an exam quite like this before, is that this exam will look very much like your homework. And I will even open up the exam for you to show you what it looks like. And I'll show you, there's a few ways of getting there. If you hit home, which is the first page that you get set to, and you go to week 6, then you'll see the midterm. But don't click there until you're ready. Because as soon as you click on the midterm, you'll be taking the exam and you have 2 hours. Okay, so don't touch that button until you're ready to take the midterm. Is that clear to everyone? But once you do click that, what's going to happen is it's going to take you to the midterm. Okay, and actually I think you can touch that button, but you can't touch the next button. Again, I'm an instructor, so it looks a little different. So it'll say start assessment for you. It won't say continue, because I actually checked it about 10 minutes before we started today, just to make sure it worked. And then when you hit, oh yeah, it does say, it says this assessment has a time limit. Once you start the assessment, the timer will not pause for any reason. Are you sure you are ready to start? Okay, so you're going to get that message and you're going to hit start assessment. Okay, and I should probably make it look like it looks at the beginning because I already played around with it. Let's see if I can start over. Well, I'll just pretend. Okay, so it's not going to have that you did one wrong right away because you didn't. But here's the thing, a couple things. One is that there are 22 questions on this exam. So you need to get to it, okay? By the way, you have 120 minutes to take this exam, and 120, if there's 22 questions, how many minutes per question? How many minutes do you get per question on average? This is simple math. Yeah, so a little less than 6 minutes. I would, shoot for 5 minutes so you can check at the end. But, you don't want to spend more than 5 minutes per question. Okay, you should need to. 5:45, okay. So it's a lot less than 6 minutes, somewhere in between 5 and 6. That I could do because it's 120 minutes divided by 22, okay, which is the same as 60 over 11. And 11 times 5 is 55. So somewhere in between 5 and 6 minutes per question. So that's just a note, is that it is time, period, and you don't want to run out of time. So any questions first on when you look at this quiz? I mean, this midterm. Okay, so you're going to have them, you can do all 22 questions, and then you'll be done. Is that clear? Okay, I want to tell you how I created these questions. Again, what I don't want to do is I don't want to have any surprises. That's my goal. Okay, so the way I created these questions, I'll even show you. This is a site you never go to because you just go through Canvas, but I will let you know. So this is how I created the questions. I created 11 different groups of problems. Any guess on why there's 11 groups of problems? Any guess? Okay, it shouldn't be too mysterious, by the way. I don't see y'all jumping in. No one knows about the 11? Okay, well, if you don't know, I'll tell you. Because in the first 5 weeks of class, so that was up until last night, there have been 11 regular assignments. So I created 11 groups of problems. And then it says select 2 from these assignments. Okay, so you can have 2 per assignment. And in fact, if you go down, I don't know, I'll just randomly grab one. How about this guy? All I did is I copied your homework problems, all of them, and I told the computer to grab 2 of them. Okay, now the numbers are randomized. So you don't try to memorize numbers from your homework assignments. But what it does is you're going to get 2 randomly generated problems from every assignment you've done. Okay, not the study skills ones, but all the regular math assignments. And that's it. So there's no mystery. Which ones you get, I don't know. They're randomly generated. Everyone's going to get 2 different ones. Okay, so if you feel like you got the hard ones, don't get mad at me. Get mad at whatever religion you are, because it's just random, truly random. Okay, but again, you're going to get 2 problems per assignment. And that's it. Any questions at all on what to expect on this homework? I mean, on this exam, which is a collection of homework problems. Any questions? Okay, so again, what I don't want to do is I don't want you to be surprised. Okay, this is not about trying to surprise you with new kind of problems. No, this is to see, did you, pay attention when you were working on the homework? And if you did, and then you should be fine. And if you didn't, okay, pay attention and remember, of course, then you won't be fine. And of course, you have to be able to do these problems in an average of a little more than 5 minutes each, which I don't think is that bad. Most of them are arithmetic problems. They only take a couple minutes. Any questions at all on what to expect? Any questions? Okay, how do you think you should study for this exam? What's the best way? Yeah, you say notes and homework practice. I would say the first thing you should do is the homework practice. So let me go back to home. And I'm not sure how aware you are of this, but if you want to go to, let's say you want to go to, I don't know, week 3, and you want to practice the number line, then you can. Okay. And in fact, let me do it more honestly, I'll do it in what's called student view, which treats me as a student instead of the instructor. So that takes me a second, just a second. With Zoom on, it's a little harder to find things. There we go. Okay, so I'm in student view, which means this is what it's going to look like for you all. And then if I want to go to week 2, I can go and work on the assignment. Okay, so if I click, I don't know, I'll just randomly grab one, converted between fraction, decimals, and percents, which you will have 2 of those problems, by the way. 2 out of the, you'll notice it looks a little different. It says practice. Okay, so you don't get points for this, it's just practice, but practice is important. And then you'll see there are 13 questions, and then you do one. So I don't know, maybe I'll just grab one, but definitely practice the ones you feel like you need to practice. You might get this problem with different numbers. You might not, right? You have a 2 in 13 probability of getting this problem with possibly different numbers, with definitely different numbers on your test. Okay. So let's see if you can do this one. Good to practice. So a researcher collected the data to discover the relationship between the amount of money people spend on living expenses and the amount of people spend on food. Okay. The researcher found that R squared is equal to 0.5653. Convert this number to a percent rounded to the nearest whole number percent. Okay. Let's see a few of you try. Make sure you all agree or don't agree. We'll see. So you can put the chat box what your answer is. So if you can round this to the nearest whole number percent, the hope is you can all do it. And if you don't remember, that means you need to practice a lot. Okay. Anything that you don't get right, by the way, that means that you should do more of. And if you get it right, you should move on. So that's going to be 57. Okay. You don't type the percent in because it has percent right here. And let's submit the question. And that was right. Good. So that means that you can move on. You've got that one down. Okay. And again, there's a 2 in 13 chance that this will come up on the test, because there's 13 problems from this assignment and I chose 2 per shot. Any questions on this idea? Okay, is this helpful, by the way? Okay, again, what I want to do is not surprise you. Okay, but if all you do is say, oh yeah, I did well on all the assignments, so I don't need to do anything, I'll just take the exam. What's the problem with that? What's the issue? There's 2 issues, actually. 3 issues. So what are the issues? If you just say, I did well on the assignment, I'm ready to take the midterm. If I did well on all the assignments. There's 3 issues with that, with saying that. Yeah, so one is for most assignments, it's been weeks and you might have forgotten, okay? And the brain works that way, is that we tend to remember things that just happened really well. And if it's been a month, you may not remember it at all. So that's one thing, is don't just assume that because you did well on the assignment, that means that you remember it. Because again, our brains are made to forget things, unfortunately. Okay, but there's 2 other issues. Another one is time. Okay, if it takes you more than 5 minutes to do a problem, worry. Got it? So you should be able to do each of these problems in less than 5 minutes. Okay, they're quick if you know what to do. I mean, this one literally takes less than a minute. You got to read the problem, and that takes most of the time. And then you got to look at it, think, and then doing it is really fast. And then the third piece is that when you do the assignments as homework, and I'll show you, let's say I'm going to do number 7. Let's do one that only has 1 part, because I don't want to spend a lot of time. Okay, here we go. 13% is equivalent to what decimal value? Well, let's say you had 1.3 and you submit the question. That was wrong. So I try a similar question. 29% is equivalent to what decimal value? 0.29. I submit. I got it right. Okay, so I want to let you know this is not going to happen for you on the test. Why is what I just showed you not going to happen? Any guess? Yeah, you only get 1 shot. See this? You can retry this question. That's turned off. Okay, there is no try a similar question. There is no you can retry this question below on the exam. So if you have to try something 3 times before you get it right, that's not a good thing. Okay, you need to understand it. So if you keep guessing until eventually you get it right, that's not okay. Because on the exam, you try it once, if you got it wrong, there's no going back. You just lose that point. You got it? So again, I want to kind of emphasize the differences between the exam and the assignments. And the main difference, the 2 main differences are timing. You only get 2 hours, and you don't get to try a second time. Okay, you get it wrong, you got it wrong, period, it's over. Got it? So any questions on kind of what to expect on the exam? Okay, what should you do, by the way, this week? If you're working on the stuff and there's one you have no idea why it's 29 or what, or 0.29, what should you do? And the hint is, it's something I said before I even started talking about the exam today. Yeah, so copy and paste the question on the Q&A, and then I'll help you with it. So that's your best way of getting assistance. And the other way of getting assistance, if you don't want to wait for me, because again, I might be teaching my calculus class, for example, or my statistics class. Do you all know that there is a tutor available at the college? Do you know about that? I don't know if you remember, but we had, trying to remember which one came in. I had in different classes, I had different tutors in. Yeah, so in that virtual cafe, there's a tutor available. They're around all day long, and I will tell you, they are so bored. You know why they're so bored? Any guess? Okay, if you're not guessing, I'll tell you, nobody's coming. I know the tutors because they're either in my math club that I'm the advisor for, or they're in my calculus class, which I'm teaching. So I know most of the tutors, and they're telling me that no one's coming. So get help, go to the tutor and have them answer your questions too. And they're around, like I said, all day long, okay? At least 5 days a week. 4 days a week for, I think, 9 till, I don't know, 6 or 7 or something like that. Friday is a little shorter, and I think they might even be around Sunday too. But again, they're around, and they're there to help you out, okay? And I am too, but again, they're around, and you don't have to worry about whether they're teaching or not, because they're not. And they know this stuff. They can help you, okay? And with this virtual cafe, you can talk to them and hear from them. It's not just email. Okay, it's not Zoom, but it's kind of like Zoom. So any questions at all? Any questions at all on what to expect for this exam? Okay, I recommend not waiting until Sunday evening to take it. How come? Yeah, glitches. Remember, this is a computer-based exam, and this is an online class. This is not a course that became online. This is truly an online class. So you're supposed to know how online works, which means if there's something really important and you could do it a little bit early, you do it a little early, because that way if something happens, like if your internet goes down, then you can do it the next day. Okay. I wouldn't recommend tonight either, because I recommend practicing a bunch, but Sunday night's a bad idea. I would recommend sometime like Thursday or Friday or Saturday to take it. I don't know what your schedules are like, but those 3 days, I bet you can find a good day to take it, and not wait until the last day. Okay, when something's important and it's online, it's a bad idea to wait until the last possible moment, because Murphy's law says that's when your computer dies. Okay, and all of a sudden things are screwed. Okay, can we do an example standard deviation question? From which section? Because we've had a lot of questions that refer to standard deviation. Okay, so just this last week, so let me go through the problems. Because again, if it's not one of the problems from the assignment, then there's no reason to even think about it, because that's all the test is. So let me go and go back to assignments. And if you can tell me, I think we had a few of them. So last week's were, let's see, actually, let's not go that way. Let's go home. It's better. And go to week 5. So week 5, assignments. So which assignment? Do you want to look at the calculate powers and square roots, or order of operations? They probably both have the same thing. A lot of them do. So which are the 2 assignments? Calculate powers, okay. So practice. And I'm just going to scroll until we get to one that has the word standard deviation. Okay, that's standard error. And that has the word standard deviation. Is this the one you want to look at, or is it a different one? Next one, okay. This one? Okay, so let's look at this one, and we'll play around with it. So it says the z-score, I need to move some stuff so I can read it. So one thing about using Zoom is that there's all kinds of things in the way. Okay, so the z-score for the sampling distribution is given by z equals x bar minus mu over sigma over the square root of n. Okay. By the way, this will happen in your statistics class. Okay. And you need to get acquainted with all of these letters. So even though I know you didn't ask them, I can't resist saying it because it's what it's all about. X bar is called the sample mean, okay, which it does say a little bit later, which is the average from the sample. Mu is a population mean, which is the average from the entire population. Sigma is the standard deviation, which is how spread out they are. And n is how many people you asked, or what is your sample size. Okay, since the population mean amount of college hours is mu is 18.15, and the standard deviation is sigma is 7.91. Alma sampled n equals 41 college soccer players and found their sample mean to be x bar is 19.1. Find the z-score rounded to 3 decimal places. Okay.
She's gonna try and they've already had an inspection done on this house.
All right, let me mute whoever's talking.
And she's gonna try and get a copy of it from the realtor.
They had the inspection done so that they can fix the stuff?
I think so. They could possibly fix it. I don't know.
Okay. All right, so we need to find this messy thing. And there's something I mentioned is it's not in PEMDAS. Okay, so you got to be careful. So there's an extra piece of PEMDAS, and that is there's a hidden parenthesis in the numerator, and there's a hidden parenthesis in the denominator. Is that clear? So the 19.1 minus 18.15 is first, even though you're not used to doing subtraction first. But if it's a numerator, you do the numerator before you do the division. So now, let me do the following, just a second. So 19.1 minus 18.15. You are allowed to calculate it, by the way. Okay, is 0.95. Is that clear so far? So what we're looking at is, let me pop it into the chat. We're looking now at 0.95 divided by, and remember the denominator has a parenthesis too. That's going to be parenthesis 7.91 divided by 41 to the 0.5 and the parenthesis. Any questions on that? Okay, I could do this all at once on the Google bar at this point. And I get 0.7690. Okay, or I could do it a piece at a time. I could do the 41 to the 0.5, then do the division of 7.91 divided by whatever I get, and then do 0.95 divided by what that was. So that's 0.7690. And do they say 3 decimal places? Zero is not needed. Any questions? Any questions? Is that totally clear or is that not? I see a 0.6. Okay, it's definitely not 0.6. So I could do a piece at a time if you want. So a piece at a time would be you'd first do the 0.95, but then you do the 41 to the 0.05, and then do the division and you do the another division. Yeah, one little mistake, by the way. One thing about computers is that they don't get partial credit. Okay, so before you submit, make sure you did all of your work. I recommend writing on a piece of paper, having that, you know, at your desk. So you have it written down, so you've got it all written. Use your calculator, double check. Make sure you don't spend more than 10 minutes. I mean, more than, sorry, 5 minutes. And then you should be able to do it, especially for the quick problems. This one's a little longer. You could probably spend 7 or 8 minutes and you'll be okay. But don't spend 20 minutes on any problem, that's for sure. Question 9. Okay, so here's question 9. So the variance and standard deviation are related by the fact that the square root of the variance is equal to the standard deviation.
Can't believe that they let him go.
Suppose that the variance of the time, oh, there's a typo there. Let me write that down because I want to fix it. If you ever find a typo, please let me know. I know it doesn't bother you too much to have the word the twice, but I don't want to do that. This is question 9. Fix that. Okay, suppose the variance of the time it takes to complete a bachelor's degree is 1.2. Find the standard deviation and round to 4 decimal places. Okay, so it's a lot of words. You got to find the key word, and this is the square root of the variance is the standard deviation. So what do we have to do to this number 1.2? What do we need to do to 1.2? Any ideas? The hint is I have highlighted it for you. Chelsea jumping in with the chat. Let me make sure everything's working. Okay, so the thing is it says the square root of the variance is the standard deviation. If we're given the variance, which is 1.2, and we want the standard deviation, we take the square root. So we can take the square root of 1.2. Okay, and you could do 1.2 to the 1/2. You could do SQRT if you want. And you get 1.09544, et cetera, et cetera. 1.0954. How many decimals do they want? 4. So that's 1.0954. And notice that 4 stays because the check digit's another 4, and that means that you don't touch it. 0954. Any questions? Any questions on this? And if I submit, that'd be right. Good. So practice some. Don't just assume that if you watch me do it, that you're ready. Make sure that you practice yourself and you get it right the first time. Okay. I recommend if you get it wrong, then make sure you get it right 3 times in a row afterwards, so that you're really ready. So if you do it 3 times in a row, you probably got it. You do a complement question week 2. Okay, so let's keep that. Let me go to modules. So week 2, and complement. We got converting fractions, decimals, percents, comparing fractional decimals, percents, and using fractional. Maybe it's the charts. Is that the one? Possibly. That's my best guess, but I'm not sure. Do you remember which one it was? As I go through until I see it. Okay, but it should have the word complement, right? These are all the same. Nope.
Sorry, I'll just talk to you. It's the number line, so it's filling in the little circles on what numbers are included and which ones aren't.
Okay, so it wasn't, I don't think that's week 2.
Okay, it might be week 3. It says, suppose that you want to find the probability that you will need to see a doctor more than 4 times next year. Find the complement and graph it.
Yeah, that would be number line.
Okay, we did a few of them, and on some of them, it does include the number that is in the problem, and then some of them it does not include. So I was just wondering if you could go over a couple of them.
Sure. Yeah, it has to do with the wording.
Okay.
So let's see, probably plot points and intervals. That one, I guess, is my guess.
Yes.
Okay. And probably not just placing points, because that you probably know how to do.
It's
Probably in the intervals.
the at least 2 and more than. I think it was like in the inequalities on the number line.
Okay. So not this section. Let's go higher.
Yeah.
Let's go back. So yeah, graph this inequality, kind of like that, but more like this one.
Yes. So on the midterm, will we be choosing these little dots and arrows that you have here, or are we going to be writing it in? Because that was where I was confused with my discussion that you had graded for me.
Okay,
I had not included something.
Okay, so it's important to know whether you include or don't include. And a couple things. One is, as I mentioned, the midterm is this. There's no writing and emailing or anything like that.
Okay.
Just doing these. So it's going to look like these. You know, which one you get, that's random. Does that make sense? Everyone gets different ones.
Yeah.
You're going to get 2 from every section. That's exactly that. I can't tell you which of the 2. Not because, you know, I want to keep it secret, because I don't know. It's random. Everyone gets 2 different ones. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So you hope it's your lucky day, right? Okay. So the low was found to be 370 to 374. So the key on this one is, do we include or do we not include 370? What do you think?
I think you include it because it's the confidence, the 95% confidence.
Okay, one more guess.
Let me read the question.
You don't include it, okay? And it has nothing to do with any of the words. That's a hint.
Okay.
Okay. See this parentheses?
Mm-hmm.
Parentheses means don't include.
Oh, okay. So it would be circle with no, without shading.
Right. So I can go circle at 370 and click that. And similarly, 374 has a parenthesis and that's it. If it's a what we call a square bracket, then you include.
Okay.
But you don't on this one. So I'm going to click 374. And now I'm going to connect. And that's the answer. Do you see how that works?
Yes.
Okay. The other type, and I don't know if this has one or not. Nope, not that one. Let me just keep going until I find one. Is that if it's what's called discrete, so that means is that if you say less than 4, let's say you have less than 4 siblings, then that would start at 3. And it's dots, not whole number line-ish. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not finding one right now. Maybe this one. Distribution. This one might be good. Suppose the distribution of the number of times a minute people blink their eyes is, no, not this one. That's just 1 point. Okay, so there may not be any from this section, but a different section might have had some.
I think that the question that I had originally typed out was that the the complement, what does that mean?
So the complement means the opposite.
Okay.
So the complement of greater than 5 is less than or equal to 5.
So 5 is included.
Right, because greater than 5, 5 is not included. So the opposite is included. You see that? And the opposite direction too. The low numbers instead of the high numbers. So that's the word complement. And that's an important word in statistics. So you want to know that word.
So on a couple of them that we did, and this is one that I copied that you had done on the screen with us. Suppose that you want to find the probability that there will be an electrical outage at least 2 times next year. Find the complement. 0, 1, 2, and 3 was shaded in. Is that a mistake and 3 should not have been?
Yeah, there shouldn't be a 3 there.
That's where probably all my confusion is coming from, is because it was shaded in.
Well, by who?
I have it on my paperwork, so that's why I just wanted to go over with.
Oh, okay, because I wouldn't do that. That wouldn't.
I know. I'm like, that's the really weird, because it's the only one that the 3 is included on there. So.
Yeah, it came from something, but that I wouldn't make. That's not a mistake. I make mistakes. Like it's possible that I wrote that twice, but I doubt it. Actually, I think that's someone else. But the other one is not something I would make a mistake on. We all make mistakes, and we all have. I know my personality. We know well enough to know where I'd make a mistake.
No, I just wanted to make sure that that was a mistake that I had written down in my notes, so that I'm not using that if it's a question in the midterm.
Okay. Okay. What I want to do now is I want to give you the secret word. It doesn't mean you can't still ask questions, but I want to make sure that, if people are done with questions, then they can at least get the secret word. Let me go to my drive so I can type it. There. Don't get scared by what you're going to see. This is my calculus lesson. But I always put my webinars on the same page. So the secret word for this week is practice. Because that's what you want to be doing to succeed on this exam, is to practice, 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 practice. And the more you practice, the better you'll get, the faster you'll get to, so you won't have issues with time if you keep practicing and practicing moving forward fast. And practice by going to the assignments and just do them. Okay, so that's the secret word. I think I'm going to stop the share, but I'm going to open it up to questions and stop the recording.